So here's the thing, I thought I was an expert at Zoom calls. After all, we've all been living in this virtual world for over a year now, right? I've had my fair share of meetings, chats, and video conferences, and I thought I had it all figured out: the angle, the lighting, the background, everything was under control. But then reality hit, or should I say my complete and utter lack of control hit. It all started with the first Zoom call of the day, the one where I was feeling overly confident because I had prepped everything the night before. I got dressed in my business casual attire, which is just code for I wore a nice top and still had sweatpants on the bottom because who am I kidding? I thought I looked great. My shirt was ironed. Mostly my hair was halfway decent, and my background was a clean minimalist look that screamed, I'm organized, I have my life together. It was perfect, or so I thought. The first sign that things weren't going according to plan came when I clicked join meeting, and the camera flickered to life. I looked at myself on screen and thought, wow, I look pretty good today. I adjusted my chair to get more comfortable, but in my mind, I was already thinking about how I was going to ace this call. Nothing could go wrong, right? Wrong. I shifted slightly in my chair, and that's when I realized that the top of my head was slightly out of frame. I mean, I had hair that day, sort of. It was the kind of hair that looked good if you didn't move your head at all. But as I leaned in a little to get closer to the screen, my hair seemed to go on its own adventure. It was as if my hair had decided it was done cooperating. I swear, it started shifting to one side like it had a life of its own, and before I could even adjust it, it was just there on the right side of my face, sticking out awkwardly like a messy nest. And that's when I realized my perfectly styled hair looked more like a sad animal I'd taken refuge in it. But I wasn't going to let that ruin the call. I smiled and continued as if nothing had happened. All right, team, here we go. I thought to myself, stay calm, right? Stay calm. The meeting began and everything was going fine until someone asked a question that required me to think. So I started to think, now this is where things get a bit messy. I'm sure you've been there. You're on a call and you're trying to sound all confident and professional, but in your mind you're just like, what did they just say? Did I miss something? Did I even hear the question? You start to panic because you have no idea what's going on, but you've already made eye contact with the screen, and now you can't just zone out. It's like you're caught in a trap and everyone's waiting for you to say something wise. I took a deep breath, tried to stay calm, and attempted a nod of understanding while silently screaming in my head. Then I did what every professional does. I nodded and said, yes, totally, I agree. What did I agree with? I have no idea. Now at this point I realized I was still nodding in a very exaggerated way, as if I were having some deep moment of clarity. My neck was in full swing, and I'm pretty sure I looked like I was about to break into a synchronized dance move, but I wasn't stopping. Oh no, I was in too deep. And then the real disaster hit. I shifted in my chair again, this time trying to regain my composure, only to hear a strange sound. It was like a sudden crunch. I froze for a second. What was that? I looked down and realized I had, without thinking, sat down on my coffee mug, a coffee mug that I had left precariously placed on the armrest of my chair. The worst part, it was half full. The mug tipped over, sending a tidal wave of coffee onto my lap, and as I desperately tried to stand up without spilling more, I ended up knocking my mouse off the desk, sending it to the floor with a loud thud. At this point, I could feel my cheeks turning a shade of crimson that was probably visible through the camera. I fumbled around for my napkins, trying to clean myself up, but in doing so my arms flung around wildly, knocking over my water bottle. I could feel the sweat trickling down my face. It was like a scene from a bad sitcom, except it was happening in real life, and the worst part, my camera was still on. I could hear everyone on the call murmuring, trying to keep it together while I was in full-on panic mode. Someone even asked, are you okay? My response, yeah, just, a little coffee mishap, nothing major. But here's the thing about Zoom calls, they don't stop. People are still waiting for you to be productive, still waiting for you to make your point, and here, I was trying to salvage my dignity, a coffee-stained shirt, and what was left of my self-esteem. Finally, I realized the situation had become way too ridiculous, so I decided to just embrace it. I sat back in my chair, wiped my forehead dramatically, and said, okay, let's get back to business. At this point, my background, which had been looking so minimalist and organized earlier, had now transformed into a chaotic mess of spilled coffee stains, knocked over mugs, and who knows what else was lurking in the background. After the meeting wrapped up, I closed my laptop, looked at myself in the mirror, and couldn't help but laugh. I had tried so hard to look professional, and instead, I'd become the star of my own personal disaster movie. And you know what? Maybe that's the real lesson here. Zoom calls are messy. Life is messy. And honestly, sometimes the more we try to look like we have it all together, the more we end up with coffee stains on our laps. But it's okay, because we all have those moments, and They make us human, so if you ever find yourself struggling to look put together on a Zoom call, just remember you're not alone. We've all had that one call where everything went wrong. And let's face it, those are the stories we'll laugh about later. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to click the bell icon so you're the first to know when we upload something new. You won't want to miss it.